Gundars Kulups from DEAC.
It should be a while before I see Dr. Death, so it would sure be nice if I could get my breath. Well, I'm not the crying nor the whining kind till I hear the whistle.
Not yet. We'll hear that later on, hopefully in a year's time. My name, as Roger said, is Gundars Kulups, and I'm a sales director for DEAC, which is a data center operator in Latvia, Europe. And I won't talk that much about technologies or implementation issues of the clouds, but I'd rather like to bring up another topic, which is how do we compare the dining business with the cloud computing business. And I hope that you'll get some similarities in these two businesses by the end of the presentation. Since the DEAC is not a common brand name yet in the United States, I'll probably give a brief facts about us and who we are, what we do. And then I'll dive into the perspective on the dining and cloud computing. So the DEAC is a European company which is founded in 1999, and we are a data center operator having the data centers in Riga, Latvia, and having points of presence all across Europe, including the London, Frankfurt, Amsterdam, and Moscow. Our main business is full managed services data center offering, including cloud in the format of infrastructure as a service. And we are working mainly for enterprise customers moving their core systems into the outsourced data center or into the cloud. So that is our specialty where we are actually doing most of the business. Okay? Now let's think about the options if we want to have a dinner alone or with our family. What are the options that we can have? First of all, we can actually prepare the dinner at home. What do we need for that? We need to know how to prepare the dinner, how to prepare the food. We can learn that. Some are more enthusiastic, some are less enthusiastic, but we can learn it. What else do we need? We need an equipment in the kitchen, some food processor, pots, pans, whatever. We need an ingredients that we have to go out into the store and buy the ingredients. At that, we have to know how much we're going to eat, how much ingredients should we buy, so that it's just enough for the dinner that we are preparing. If we are not that good in cooking, or we're just lazy today, what we can do is we can go to the local restaurant, where we probably know the chef, we know what the menu is, we know our preferences, and what is more important, the chef knows our preferences. They know us. They know that if we come in, they shouldn't put mayo on a salad, or what the steak preparation should be, etc. So we have a really good relationship. We know each other. What happens if right now I'm in San Francisco and I flew in from Riga a couple of days ago, and I don't know what the local restaurants are? Well, I can try, and it's hit and miss process. You sometimes get a really good restaurant, sometimes you get bad restaurant. What are the other options? You obviously can go with a global chain restaurant, and my preference personally is Burger King. You always know what you will get. Doesn't matter which side of the globe you are. The food is okay, it's cheap, it's predictable. Okay? And probably there are some other options, but these are the options we can use to get our dinner. And if we look at the data center business, isn't it the same? We can build the data center in our premises. What we need for that, just like in cooking, we need to understand the processes, the infrastructure, the IT, the power, the cooling, everything. We need to buy the equipment, and for the infrastructure, the IT equipment, networking, computers, everything, we have to build it ourselves. And it's quite hard to actually size what our needs are today, what they're going to be in years' time, what they're going to be in 5 years' time. What you can do is actually you can go to your local data center provider that is local, that is open to have a discussion with you, that is open to come up with a solution that is fitting your needs, and that is flexible and has a capacity and the knowledge about you, just like in a restaurant. And of course you can go to the global cloud provider. They have a data centers in this continent, in Europe, in Asia, everywhere. Again, it's a standard offer, it's a consistent offer wherever you are, and the pricing is good. So basically those are the options. And I don't know how many of you have been to Sweden, which is a country in the north of Europe. Can you raise the hands who have been to Sweden? There are a couple of people. And I'm going to show you the slide from the Sweden that shows how important it is to plan before we implement something. Back in 70s, in Sweden, there was a common understanding that in the future, the public catering system will be as good that nobody will eat at home. So they built a huge amount of the properties, the houses, where they installed kitchen like this. And imagine you have a 3-bedroom flat with a kitchen and a closet like that. Now, some 30 years later, people still prepare food at home, and they are stuck with this kitchen. They cannot install any other kitchen in that flat. The market value of those flats are considerably lower than for the other flats, and they are simply stuck there. So planning is very, very important. Coming to the cloud, I want to talk about 3 considerations or 3 points where I think it's important to look at and make consideration before you choose a particular solution. One is obviously the data. Where the data is stored, who owns the data, how will you migrate the data into the cloud and out of the cloud if you need, and what is the security of the data. Ease of adaptation. How easy it is to adapt to the cloud. If you have a current systems running, if you're not a fresh startup, you obviously have already some existing ecosystem that you have to move fully or partially into the cloud. And flexibility. What are the functions that cloud offers you? And I think that I'll be going a little bit on contradictory to what the common wisdom is, which says the cloud is very flexible. It's not always the case. You have to consider that. And before we go deeper in these points, just to give you some examples of our cases, customer cases, which actually underlines our discussion. The first is actually the restaurant chain in Russia. And it's one of the largest restaurant chains in Moscow, in Russia, in Moscow. In Moscow, they have 43 restaurants and delivery service, which takes orders for home deliveries. And you have to consider that officially in Moscow, there is 12 million people registered. Unofficially, they say it's approximately the same amount. So altogether, 24 million people. Which is, I think in the Bay Area you have 8.5 million, so roughly 3 times the Bay Area. All the population of the Bay Area is in one city. What they needed is to have a system which is available 24/7. Due to the software that is running, the order processing, if they have the network failing for 2 seconds, the system won't be available for half an hour. So basically for the network it has to be 100% uptime. And they have very changing requirements. For some parts of the systems, like the accounting ERP system, they have a predictable load. For the order processing, whenever the Friday evening comes in and all the people are rushing to make the home orders, the load for that current that particular workload goes to the sky. So basically what they had to do is they chosen to rent the servers with us, physical servers. They're having their own storage owned by the customer because that was their requirement because of the data security. But the virtual servers, the processing power, is actually in our cloud. So on the Friday evenings, Valentine's Day, Christmas, whatever, you name it, they increase the amount of the servers which does the processing on their hardware, on their storage. So it's a combined solution which needs something from the public cloud, something from dedicated hardware, and then they have some private cloud on the rented servers. Second case is a global social network currently having more than 130 million users worldwide. Don't ask the name, but I told it to you just now. They are running the system. Obviously, they have the CDN network all across the globe, but they're running the system in our data center, having more than 1,000 servers there. It's their own private cloud. It's their own know-how, how they wrote the software, how they can scale on these 1,000 servers with number growing. But initially, they actually started on one of the big two cloud providers, global ones, and the system wasn't flexible enough because they needed to be hooked up to their own network, to have their own network that's covering, at that time, the whole Europe. Now it's extending to the States, to South Americas. And the global cloud provider wasn't flexible enough for them. So they actually went to the hardware rentals. And the third one is it's a shameless ad that I just put in this morning. Sorry for that. It's not really the cloud case, although it's somehow related to the restaurant business, because I have gained a couple of pounds in recent years and I'm trying to get rid of them by running. So when I ran a couple days ago here in Santa Clara, I noticed a small flag sticked in the ground, which reminded me a story of one of the telco operators from the United States who came to us to implement the point and presence in our data center. And I think those were the best words on the Monday evening. They flew in on Sunday. They booked 1 week business trip to Latvia because they said it's always like that. When you set up in a new data center, something doesn't work. It takes time to get fixed, everything. So we book a trip for a week so that we can get it done. On Monday evening, we had a dinner, and they said, well, that is a service that is sometimes available in the United States, never available in Europe. It's done in 1 day. Everything went as smooth as possible. So, ending the shameless advert, sorry for that. Okay, now digging deeper in those 3 points for consideration. Regarding the data, you have to understand who owns the data in the cloud. What is the data that is owned by you? What is the data that is owned by the cloud provider? Does the cloud operator has access to your data directly or for statistical reasons like using it as a big data? Which data is available for access for data operator, which is not? Where the data resides. A cloud is like in clouds, it's moving. Do you know where it exactly resides? What jurisdiction is it? Is the jurisdiction important for you? For what kind of data it is important, for what kind of data probably it isn't important. You can move it to other country, to other continent probably. How do you move data out of the cloud if you choose to leave? Are there procedures that will allow you to copy and move the data out of the cloud if that time comes? If you do research and if you do search on a large British wholesaler or general store who had their website built with Amazon services, and now they moved out to their own built web this summer, I believe. What they quoted is that they had to re-register all the users, or the users had to re-register, because they couldn't move the user date, the registration date out of the Amazon. They were using the Amazon's platform as a service. That part of the data belongs to the Amazon. They couldn't get it. So basically, not just implementing the system, they had to re-register every user that wanted to access their online store. Ease of adaptation, and I think this is something by now is a common knowledge, but still worth repeating. The software as a service is very easy for small companies. It's pre-configured. You sign up, you use it. It becomes a bit harder for enterprises because they need to integrate SaaS providing with their existing systems. So flexibility there is lesser. Platform as a service, on the contrary, is harder for small companies. They don't have the resources in-house to develop their existing applications to use offering by the platform provided by the cloud provider. And internet infrastructure as a service obviously is the easiest for the adaptation. You basically move from the physical servers to the virtual servers. You gain from there, but you don't get all the potential benefits of the cloud. Flexibility, vendor lock-in obviously is one thing, and how you can move out of it. And for large and the complex systems, I gave a couple of examples already. It is really hard to get the solution that you require using the standard building blocks which is offered by the cloud providers. So you have to consider that. When we are working with our customers, we are usually, the initial questions are, okay, how do we move to the cloud? This is what we have, and how do we put that in the cloud 100%? And there is no clear answer on how to put the whole system. It is impossible, simply. So instead of looking at the whole system on how you're going to move your whole infrastructure into the cloud, or private or public cloud, or stay on a dedicated, you actually have to look on the systems of the part, or the parts of your system. What are the components of the system, of your ecosystem? Which components can be moved or should be moved into the cloud? Which workloads are the ones who are predictable in their consumption, resource consumption, or have a specific requirements on the hardware which cannot be moved from the dedicated hardware? Which workloads are irregular in resource consumption that you can move in a cloud but have a sensitive data that you cannot move into the public cloud? Those parts of the system should go into the private cloud. And those who are operating on the data which is not too sensitive and have irregular workload, you can go to the public cloud. Still, if you ask my wife, she says that she never eats Caesar salad in a restaurant because mine is best. So you have to make your own decisions. You have to look what is the best for you. Okay? I think I've saved some time from the previous speaker, so you are all can leave to the breakfast and continue. I know that there is a launch power session which will continue on strategies for choosing the cloud solution. So probably you'll get, or most likely you'll get some more valuable information also there. And if you have any questions, please welcome to our booth 309, which is in Expo session. Thank you.